Welcome to the Dad Bod Pod, a place for men to learn, grow, and live the healthiest life possible. I'm your host, Jason Priest, and I have a very awesome guest for you guys today. This guy has quite the backstory and is actually a professional skater, as well as the CEO of Commune Capital, and has quite the following on Instagram as well. And I think he's going to add a lot of value to you guys today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mikey Taylor to the show today. Mikey, grateful to have you today.
Thank you, my man. Total pleasure.
Thank you for coming. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right in and ask you the same question I asked most of my guests, and really just kind of get your stance or your view on, the way that society has really kind of embraced the dad bod, softened their stance, and, this is leading to a lot of sad outcomes. So what are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on the fact that it's happening, or
more about society softening our stance and kind of embracing it? You see online a lot today that, the dad bod is preferred for some women. And then you got the Planet Fitness study that came out. So kind of how we're making it acceptable.
Yeah. Gosh, I think I could actually argue both sides, but
Sure.
I'm going to tell you kind of my opinion on it. If it's your goal to be happy and live a life that you're proud of, and that looks like you having a dad bod, then all good, right? But if the dad bod is a result in you not living the life you want to, and that's what you see it kind of portrayed as, then my stance would be, now you're comfortable in a sense of you're not moving forward, and that is kind of what I don't like seeing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to depend on the personality there, but like if you love your life, you love how you look, you're totally confident in it, it's not an emotional tie to a result that you're upset about, then dude, all good.
Sure.
But I don't think you should obsess. I think we glorify people for going too extreme. I don't know if that's necessarily the call either. I think it's more of just a healthy balance. But to your original point, I think society as a whole is making it acceptable to be whatever you are, and I actually don't totally agree with that. I think if it's an excuse for you to just be comfortable in your insecurities, I don't love that. I'd rather you work through your insecurities, get to a point of true happiness, and then whatever the result looks like because of that, then all good.
Yeah, no, and I can agree with that. And most of my listeners know by now, like, I'm all about self-care and self-love. And I think that we have to love ourselves for who we are. But to your point, like, if you're allowing yourself to be in this condition all because society says it's okay, and that's not your thing, right? Like, I guess my next question would be, do you feel like do you think that society is making people feel more comfortable about it, and so it's just an excuse to have that look? Or
Oh man, see, this is the tough part, right?
Sure.
I don't think there's a right answer for it, because I think it's going to depend on the person. But I like the idea of us not praising perfection, because none of us are perfect.
Sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right. I love the fact that society is showing you that it's okay, and you could be happy if you're not exactly who you want to be at the moment, and not to beat yourself up on it. But for me personally, like how I am, like I want to be moving forward. I always want to be pushing myself to the next level. And so what I've noticed with myself is whenever I'm comfortable, that's actually my body trying to stop me from growing. It's saying, you're fine how you are. And so that would be the only challenge to it, that I think as long as you're not getting stuck in that, then I think it's great. But if you're stuck in comfort and not trying to improve, I don't like that as much.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that, I think you nailed it with the growth thing. Like, we should all want to be growing and moving forward in all areas of life, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm perfect in any area. And like you said, nobody's perfect, but as humans, and men in general, we should want more for ourselves. And if
Yeah.
you're allowing yourself to fall into this trap of unhealthiness, then it's going to be very hard for you to grow in any other area as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
totally agree.
yeah.
Totally agree.
I feel like, and you probably agree, that health is wealth, and without our health and our fitness, it's very hard to do much else in life, and you can only put your health on the back burner for so long. So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I know you're a dad and you have two daughters. So tell me a little bit about, what your kind of approach to leading by example is for them. So obviously with your skating and spending a lot of time doing that as a professional skateboarder, I feel like, a lot of your fitness comes from that. But do you have you guys do active things together, or what's your outlook on trying to make sure that they become healthy adults?
So this is such a good conversation. So when I was skating, so I don't skate like I did, right? Like I had 20 years where I skated every single day for 4 or 5 hours a day. Now I only skate about once a month. So
Okay.
I've actually had to transition into having to pay attention to staying healthy, because in the past it just happened by default because I was skating so much. So that side of it's actually new for me. And to your point of the kids, like, kids see more than they hear, right? They don't learn by what you tell them. They learn by what they see you do. And so dude, I'm constantly thinking about that. The health is something that's actually become a struggle of mine recently that never was in the past. And it's just the working out part. As far as eating goes, we eat pretty well. It's just now I have to pay attention to get myself to go sweat, where I used to not have to think about that,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have to work on it. I have to push myself to make sure it's a priority of mine.
Yeah, no, I love that. And to your point, about the kids, it's very true. And I've had several guests tell me the same thing. It's like, kids do what you do way before they do what you say. And if you're the guy
Yeah,
that's sitting back eating a cheeseburger and saying, "Hey, you should go eat your broccoli now," or you're the guy that's sitting behind the couch all day watching TV, but you're like, "Hey, go live an active lifestyle." The two don't
yeah,
really mesh. So
yeah.
so I guess with your recent, the recent transition or adjustment that you've had to make, what kinds of things do you do to try to get your heart rate up or break that sweat that you normally would do with skating?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I work out in the gym with someone once a week, and then about 2 other days aside from that, I either run or ride a bike,
Okay.
and those are kind of my. That's how I get to sweat now.
Sure.
It's just, before I was working out without it feeling like working out, I was just having fun. I don't love running. I don't love riding a bike, but I like the way I feel afterwards. So I just force myself to do it, truthfully. Uh,
Wow.
but that is I have to really push myself to do that. It's that, as far as like the priorities go, that has kind of fallen below some of the other priorities. So I know that's happening. I'm constantly trying to push myself up to just, you need to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, and I think that's powerful because I say that a lot. It's like sometimes you just have to force it to make it happen. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anybody that's, in super elite shape, we'll call it, all the way to someone who's just in average shape. Nobody loves going to the gym every time or loves riding that bike or loves going on a run. But like you said, you like how you feel after. You're a better
Yep.
person for it. Your mental
Yep.
clarity's better. You sleep better. So many things just fall into place. And so it's kind of,
Yeah.
you're almost doing it for the benefits of it versus, the suck.
Yeah.
This
Oh
it
yeah.
is about embracing the struggle.
100%. I totally agree.
Yeah. So is your wife involved in fitness, or what is her stance on it, and how does that all blend together as a family?
So it's funny, man. The point you originally made, I kept thinking of my wife, because she is working out has never been easy for her, and the idea of comparing her to other people, she's always felt this like burden about, right? Like she felt like everyone she looked at was perfect, and she was always so critical on herself. And she's actually worked through a lot of the emotional side to get comfortable with who she is first, and then actually the working out stuff became easier for her to do because it became less about trying to fit into the norm and more about I'm okay with who I am. I don't need to be perfect, but I do feel good when I do this, and I'm comfortable with how I look now. And so a lot of your original points, like my wife is it really relates to that. So for her, she's been she eats better than all of us. She is gluten-free, dairy-free. She's actually vegan, all clean eating. And then she's big on the Peloton bike. So
Okay.
she rides her Peloton bike maybe like 5 days a week.
That's awesome, man. And that's so powerful because I think, to your point, and I think a lot of men do the same thing in my experience. So, we get on social media, you go see these Instagram models or Men's Health cover model or whatever. And it's almost like, well, if I can't have that, like why even put in the effort? But I often say, and you've heard it too, like self-comparison is the biggest thief of joy. And for your wife, like figuring out that it's more about like her just growing as a person, her prioritizing fitness and becoming a more elite version of herself versus, well, I need to look like the fitness chick in the gym, because that's just not what it is about. It's just, you should want to be healthier for your spouse, your kids, and everything else involved. And so, I hate the comparison thing. And I see so many people go down that avenue. It's like, I'm going to go on Instagram, I'm going to see the dude that's shredded, and then feel like if I can't get there in 6 months, then like, why even put in the effort?
Dude, I think the comparison problem that it transcends fitness. I think it's
Sure.
we all struggle with it, right? And Instagram just unfortunately glorifies perfection. So I think a lot of us, we go on there and we're left feeling more depressed or insecure or incapable. So that's a phenomenal point, is getting rid of comparing. And I know for me, like, see, when I was skating and then I got really into surfing, like I was doing things that I had fun doing them, and the exercise was just added benefit, right?
Yeah.
I think that's like the best way to do it personally.
Absolutely.
But now what I've had to do, and which has helped, is I focus on the benefits of working out. And one of them being, and you touched on, the mental clarity I have after I work out. That is actually the thing that drives me to work out, because so much of what I do now is mental focus. And I want to be as sharp as I can every day. And I've noticed that if I'm working out, my mind is functioning at a higher level. So I think just like hanging on to the things that you do see or feel because of it, and then it makes it easier to, push yourself at 6 a.m. to force your workout. And, look, I hate working out. I'll tell you straight up, I do not like it.
Yeah.
But I love these certain things that happen from it,
Yeah, no, and that is, I mean, to your point, I mean, like that, I tell people all the time, like the very first reason why I go to the gym is the mental clarity. For me, that is priority number one. And so the good physique is a byproduct of it. Like I don't love going to the gym either, but I love that you mentioned, finding something that you can really thrive on. So for you, skating and surfing, and now obviously your responsibilities and business have changed. And so you don't necessarily have the time to commit to that. But I think for a lot of people out there listening who just can't really figure out their way in the gym, maybe it's about going and finding a group fitness class that you really love, or going and being part of, something a little bit bigger. And so it's not just about you, riding the struggle bus through your workout the whole time. It's, well, I'm part of this group. Now I'm going to get involved. I'm going to work out for 30 minutes and I'm going to go about my day, and stop overcomplicating the process of, well, now it's time for my 1 hour workout. Like it doesn't need to be like that, the thought process at least.
Totally. I totally agree.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little bit into your other adventures here and talk about the commune capital thing. So I was reading a story prior to our interview here, and I was just reading about, kind of the behind why you started that, man. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that. I thought it was a powerful message. And just give my listeners a little bit of background on what you do there.
Yeah. So being a pro skateboarder, I had found something that I loved that I never wanted to end, but the end was inevitable. I couldn't do it for the rest of my life. And for us as let's just use athletes in general, we had found our thing that couldn't be our thing. So a lot of us fear what happens next. And I was so scared of what my life was going to look like, really, because I wasn't sure what my next purpose or passion was going to be. And so at a young age, I actually got connected with a group of guys who really helped me create a financial system to put myself in a position where I didn't have to figure out how to survive when my career ended. I could be in a position to actually find out what I wanted to do next. And so, dude, a big part of my life became, living on a budget, taking advantage of opportunity, investing, delaying gratification so that I could be in a better position down the road. And real estate is a big component of that. It's not all of it. And so I wanted to create a company where I could help people set themselves up for the future, and starting specifically for athletes, and real estate being the first component of that. So right now we have a real estate investment fund, and then it will start spitting off into what kind of a total portfolio would look like as far as investing goes. But we've started in real estate, and the amount of investors we have started at 10, and we're I think a little bit over 50 now, and growing. And yeah, that's kind of my life now.
That's cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that. So I know you mentioned that you only get to skate about once a month. So is that literally just by choice, or is that your time is just you don't have time to commit to that?
That's a great question. This is the most common question I get asked. There's two parts of it. One would be the mission that I'm focused on right now is I have so much to do to try to achieve this that my time is very limited in a sense, right? Then the free time I do have, and this is kind of what I'm working through, I can only skate once a month, maybe twice a month. And skating once or twice a month, I'm not able to skate the way I want to skate.
Sure.
Right. And the way I want to skate, you've got to be able to skate every single day to have. And so there's been a part of it that just I haven't fully become comfortable with, of how do I enjoy doing this in a way that I'm not comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of twofold of what I'm working through. And I'm hoping I get to a point where I just skate and just love it no matter how I'm skating. But maybe because it's so recent, I don't have that yet.
Yeah.
And then just with this company and my vision of where it's going, I got a lot to accomplish. So I'm consumed by that,
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. It feels like it's almost like your competitive spirit wants to be skating every day to maintain that. And I'll relate that to a little stint in my life where I was playing golf. I mean, like if you don't play golf every single day, or at least 4 or 5 times a week, you're not going to be as good. And it sounds like the same thing. It's like you have expectations to be up here as a skater because that's where you've been. Yeah. And if you let that slide, it's like, well, I can't get the job done now. So
yeah, totally. And look, like you kind of nailed it. Like I am a competitive person. Like when I do things, I want to do them to the absolute best of my ability. And if I'm not doing that or moving up in that ability, totally honest with you, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so with skating, it's like I was thankfully in a position where I could focus all my time at becoming better. But once that career kind of, I would say officially ended, I wasn't able to do that anymore. And it's just been a challenge on that set. But, something like golf, and to your point, I started getting really into golf. And it's like I'm at a point where I get to get better and improve on it. And with this company, it's like, there's so much to get done that I feel, the company moving towards that direction. I'm getting better. I'm learning. So I now have that feeling again of moving towards my greatest potential. And I don't have that anymore with skating. So it's been an adjustment, I'd say is a fair word for it.
I totally understand. I guess, I'll just piggyback to that question. Do you feel like, this new, your company, do you feel like this is like your purpose now? Because you're being able to help a lot more people, where at the skating, it was kind of, you have fans and people that get to enjoy the entertainment value, but it's more for you. With this, it's like now you get to potentially help, hundreds and thousands of people. And it seems like a much greater purpose. Do you feel like that would be part of your reasoning there?
Yeah. So yeah, that's such a good question, man. I almost don't even know where to start to answer it.
I hate to put you on the spot, but it made too much sense to ask it.
I think it's so good. I think the thing is, I truly never understood my purpose prior to the last, let's call it 2 years, but I knew my identity, and my identity was skater, right? Like That's who I was. If anyone asked me what I did, I'm a skater. Oh, well, what does that mean? It was always skater, right? But it wasn't anything more than that until my career ended and I had lost my identity, and then had to try and find purpose. And through that transition, I found both. And I would say my purpose, I feel like, is so much greater than what I could have just done as a skateboarder. And so I guess I'm fueled and motivated by trying to accomplish that goal. And I think now, how I look at my purpose is trying to be an example to others on how to live a life that feels complete, and living a life of integrity and purpose and compassion. And I've been very fortunate to, this will make more sense. Being a skateboarder, our timeline is so sped up, right? Like when you think about it, skaters get, somewhat of fame at an early age, money at an early age, have to figure out retirement at an early age, then have to work through identity and purpose at an early age. There's so many components of my life that I had to learn at 34 that I normally would have learned at 60, right? And going through all this experience and still being at somewhat of a young age, I feel like I have learned so much that I can offer others to help, so that they don't have to go through it later on in life. They could set up a life now that brings them true compassion, right? That their feelings aren't relative to their situation. They can be in a good situation or a bad situation. They're still happy. They still feel good. So I feel like that now has become my purpose, is trying to show as many people as I can that the principles and things that I've learned to create a really enjoyable life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I think that that's huge, and more power to you, man. I think it's great that you found that, because like you said, it does seem like it's your process was sped up. It's like, so I guess my question to you, I have a 21-year-old brother who's a big fan of yours, and he's into skating, and that's just what he does every day, but he's in college. He can get away with it. Like, that's his life. Yeah. Right. So do you see, I guess, what age do you see the skaters start to fall off in terms of being able to continue that lifestyle? Obviously, if you're getting money from it, it's one thing, but is that a trend at a certain age where it's like, okay, now what do I do next?
Okay, so that's a great question. So let's remove the pro skateboarder, right? For everyone that's just skating, and it's funny, they have the same love as the pro skateboarder. They don't want it to end. We all share that in common. But the person who does not become pro typically has to, let's say, not skate as much or transition into a conventional career somewhere around, I don't know, 19 to 24, I would say. And now you have a split of people who, you have a group that goes, okay, this isn't my career. I'm going to find something else, and I'll still like skating, but I'm finding something else. Then you have another group of guys that go, I'm doing this forever, even though this isn't my job. And I think those guys are the ones, at least that I see, that like, I love that they love skating so much, but they don't really have a life that's making much of an impact. It's
right.
They're living a life at 40 that they lived at 20. Like, that's, I don't know, that it seems like they're selling themselves short in a stance, because at 40 years old, you should be doing way bigger things than you were at 20.
Sure.
But it's hard. It's hard for a skater, because we truly find something that, like, we are absolutely consumed with. We love it. It's hard to find that next thing that gives us that same feeling. So I totally see why it happens. I was scared of that happening for me, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, I bet, man. Like, it's the fear of the unknown. Like, what's my next step in life? So I think it's awesome that you found something that you love and can provide a ton of value for people, but also help people that were in your same shoes kind of transition to the next step. I mean, that's, everybody would probably want something like that if they could have it. It's just about finding out your why and your purpose. So not everybody does it, obviously.
100%. And look, like, I think this probably relates to a lot of the people you help. It's like, even when you start talking about fitness, when you have a purpose, it makes you want to wake up that next day to go accomplish your purpose, right? It becomes your fuel to get all of these things done throughout the day.
Yes.
When you struggle with purpose, that's when you start going through every single day and they start blending together as meaningless, right? So it's like, I think it all starts there. That's the core principle. And it's funny, that's the question we all ask each other. It's like, why am I here?
Right.
What am I supposed to do here? Right? We're built to like ask that type of question. And until you figure it out, you don't truly know what you're supposed to do, right? The hard part is in figuring it out, that means you're going to have to do a lot of soul searching. You're going to have to look within, which is usually really painful. You have to be incredibly honest with yourself, and that is hard to do. So I think most people just don't. But gosh, the result from living a life where you know your purpose is you turn to end up loving it. You love every day. You're excited for the next day because you have meaning in being here.
I can't agree with you more, man. And, it's funny. I'll relate that to my own stories. I started my business about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And, I was the guy who didn't have much purpose. I mean, I knew I had an identity. I mean, I was a registered nurse, personal trainer. Like I knew who I was and what I was about. I knew what my priorities were in life, but purpose didn't exist. And when I finally discovered that, and I remember sitting at the dinner table with my wife, head in my hands and just bawling, like, I can't continue to live life like this, honey. And she's like, well, we want a baby and we have a baby and now you want to make a career change, but man, you have to take action and just go for it. Like when you finally discover that purpose, man, like it's so powerful that you're selling yourself short by not going for it. Right. Like she was like, I have to support you. I can't not.
Yeah. Yep. So, I love that. I love that.
Well, this is, you've added a ton of value already. And I just want to ask you one more question. And, if somebody's out there struggling to find their purpose or really even, and we can relate it to fitness and life in general, just struggling to get out of a rut and kind of build some momentum in their life, what kind of advice would you give somebody like that?
Oh man, I think the first thing I would say is it's normal to feel that way, right? Everything that you're going through, feeling like you're in a rut, that is totally normal. And I have felt that before as well. Everyone feels that. So just know it's normal. And two, it doesn't last forever, right? Once you can understand that we have trials in our life and it's ebbs and flows, right? It's easier to keep focus on the fact that you're not going to be in the shitty situation forever and you're actually going to become better through moving forward on it, right? So I think a big part is your outlook on the situation. But dude, the big thing for me is the more I've become self-aware, the more self-awareness I have about myself, why I make decisions, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what my insecurities are. It allowed me to be really honest with who I am, and it made it easier to find out what I was supposed to do. And so I would start working on improving yourself, improving the way you speak to yourself, improving the way you look at the world. If you're naturally a complainer, start playing a game with yourself to, anytime something happens, try to find the good in it, right? And what happens over time is you no longer have to think about telling yourself these good things or whatever. It just becomes a reality for you. And then you start living more of a joyful life,
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I can't agree with you more. One thing that I'm huge on is the gratitude piece, and when you can start thinking about all the things in your life that you have to be grateful for in this moment, even though your situation may be really shitty, it's not going to be shitty forever. And if you start practicing gratitude and realizing that you do have a lot to be grateful for in your life and just build on that, it just seems like a lot of the load is taken off your shoulders in those down times for sure.
Yeah. And you know what else I would say too? I just thought of this. If you're struggling finding out like what you should be doing or what your purpose is, I think like look at the things you do that make you happy, right? I think we kind of struggle with this idea that like you have to work and then the thing that you enjoy is on the side, right? Like I'm a really big believer that if you can find something that you would do for free that makes you feel accomplished and proud and you enjoy it, do that and find a way to make money doing it, right? Because now you're going to live a life that you enjoy. You're no longer worried about the bills. That just comes as a result to you doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's the best way to set it up.
I love that, man. And I agree with you 100%. And you wake up every day and you don't have to look at work as being work. It's just part of what you do every day. It's a game changer for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So, awesome, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time today. I want to thank you again. And for anybody that wants to connect with you out there, any social media or any links, I'll put it all in the show notes as well. But where can people find you?
Best place is Instagram. It's just my name, Mikey Taylor. You could find pretty much everything else from there, but that's the easiest place.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again so much for your time, man. I really appreciate you adding all the value you did to my show today, and I hope you have a fantastic week.
Thank you, legend. It was a pleasure for real.
Hey, thank you.